Hello, selectors, and welcome to the Life Burst Podcast.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. How are you all doing? Tiffany, how are you doing?
I'm so good right now.
I'm going to turn the computer this way, and then I'm going to go like this. And now it looks like I'm talking to you guys.
Wow, it's like we've never done video before.
So, Tiffany?
Yeah.
Prismatic Diva, it started. We're at this new set, just came out.
We did it.
Opened some boxes.
We did open some boxes. I picked it. I pulled a good one.
Yeah, you got it.
But you'll have to listen to the rest of the podcast to know which one I pulled.
Well, I'm gonna keep it hidden then.
Yeah.
Keep it hidden.
I'll reveal it when we get to it.
So guys, we're gonna go over and do our normal review of the set. Sort of what cards we think are good, what cards we think are less good, what are maybe a little overhyped. And I'm just going to run through some at the start here, per the usual, in our lightning round.
But first,
how
was your Wixoss week?
Wixoss week was pretty good. Nothing too crazy. You know, we were on vacation for a little while.
We did go on vacation for a little while.
But we put out some videos still. We pre-recorded some videos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to basically, now that the GP is way far behind us and this new GP is potentially coming up, I'm excited to get to start playing some more decks and like kind of get back into the swing of things. I've been doing some studies of the Japanese meta as well as like our own meta again, you know, just getting our ideas of like what's going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that the player base is different. So it's always kind of cool to compare and contrast like the different decks that seem to be bubbling up to the top.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to everyone. Thank you so much for watching our first face reveal. One of the comments said that I missed an opportunity to wear my MC Lion hat, and I listened because you were right. So I'm wearing it.
So here's the MC Lion.
Here's the MC Lion hat that my friend made for me. It's the one that I like keep talking about, and I guess I've never really shown like
the GP.
on our this is the one that I wore to the GP, but I've never really shown it here because we haven't been doing video. So this is what it looks like. I think it looks awesome, and it is one of my favorite accessories.
This is my curly hair hat that I wear, so that no one knows that I'm bald.
Oh, you choose to wear it like that? Very good.
Anyways, so let's get to the Prismatic Diva best cards here. As always, these are just our opinions. There are cards that we probably didn't go over. Every cards have a niche somewhere, and sometimes cards seem like they could be powerful but don't have enough support. Later down the line, more support cards come in, and then suddenly they might have use again.
That's right. So if you've got thoughts, concerns, questions, leave it in the comment section down below, and subscribe while you're scrolling on your way down to the comment section.
Cool. I'm going to go start with our lightning round per usual. These are the ones that we don't do super deep dives into. We just talk about real quick, briefly. And then we do deep dives on the cards that we think these are the big impact cards that you better be aware of.
Ooh.
These are some stuff that's going to be tangentially important to know about, though. The first one's we've got two pieces. The first one is Afternoon Tea Show. It's a dream team.
So cute.
Yeah, it is actually one of the cool ones. So it's a dream team. It says the condition is you got to play a dream team, 3 different colors. And then at the beginning of your attack phase, you get to choose one of the following. You can add target signy that shares a color with the center of your L rig to your from the enter zone to your hand, or you can enter charge 1. So this is a really cool card because this is something that's been lacking a little bit. So this is a green piece, so you do need to run green in the deck. However, there are some decks that are green light and would like to have enter, but don't want to stuff those green main deck enter cards into them. And this is a enter charge every single turn. It turns on Osagetsune, turns on Parajulius, those types of effects. So this is actually pretty good for them. There's some control decks that actually really like this as well. The ability to constantly bring back a Signy to just loop sort of like prison effects is pretty cool for control. You can't get a guard, that's to be clear here with that. But you can get other stuff with it, and the fact that you can enter charge with it so you can constantly do maybe 2 attacks a turn or something with this type of effect is actually pretty good in those control decks as well. So this is a shout out. Like if I was running the Nova deck right now, I probably would swap out Energy Door with this. Like it's probably actually pretty good in that. It's got a narrow range of effects, so you're not going to have like a ton of decks that are looking for this type of effect, but you'll have a couple. The next one is Like Friends. Also a Dream Team piece. This one...
Okay, can I tell you that I read the title of this card, and then I read what it did, and I was like, this seems like something Friends wouldn't do.
Yeah, exactly. That's the irony.
Rude.
It feels like the irony of it. I just read it too, because it feels like you can't really keep friends if you play this card. It's just rude all across the board. So it's two colorless enter to play. It is Dream Team. You gotta have 3 different colors as the requirement. Then you get the following effect. Your opponent discards a card, chooses a Signy on their field and puts it into the trash, chooses a card from their enter zone and puts it into the trash, and then takes the top 2 cards of their deck and puts it into the trash. The reason why this is sort of in our like less great cards that are popping up but may show up is this has got very strong effects, but none of them are super powerful on their own, right? So like the ability to trash a Signy, really strong, but you don't get to choose what it is. The ability to discard a card, really strong, but you don't get to choose what the card that discarded is. Trashing an enter, very strong. You don't get to choose what enter goes into the trash. And top 2 goes to the trash. You'd rather have 4 or 6 as being that number. So none of them are strong on their own. Altogether, they give you something of a niche if you're looking to be like a resource denial type of deck.
Yeah, if you're into taxing, then this might be a card that you want to consider. But when you lay it out that way, it does seem like this card does a little bit of everything, but nothing like super well.
Yeah, the easiest card to compare this to is actually from Magic the Gathering, a card called Smallpox, which does sort of a similar thing. Makes a creature die, kills an enchantment, artifact, makes you mill, I think 1 or 2, and then makes them discard a card. Does a lot for its mana cost. But it's only good when you surround it with a critical mass of those types of effects. That this is just really good value on top of all the other stuff you're pushing. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to use this, probably want to push something else like that. Moving into the next slide, we've got Malulun, and we've got Midoriko. I said it right this time.
You did it. I'm
proud of
proud
myself.
Of you. Yeah.
Malulun is a interesting card, but probably not good. Where it's our first center that is very much spells matter.
Yeah.
So we had kind of a center that spells matter, and that was Card Jockey. But it wasn't just spells, it was spells in level 3 matters, so it kind of gave you a bit more room to work with.
I mean, it wasn't like spells as in like spells themselves. It was spells because that's how Endless Punchline kind
Correct.
of worked.
Endless Punchline was a really good payoff, though.
Like, you could theoretically, use no spells in a Card Jockey deck, and you would get the same result.
Right.
Not so much. They have to be spells.
Yeah, you have to use spells. And so just a quick math. Well, I'll go ahead and read it real quick. It's a level 3 blue that has the use of cost of your opponent's spells are increased by 1. So if they're going to play Random Drain, it's blue 1, 2 enter total. You can discard a Signy and a spell, 2 cards altogether, to vanish target Signy on the opponent's field. That's rare in blue to be able to straight up vanish. And the more complicated one is it's once per game, which lets you look at the top 10 cards of your deck. You can put up to 2 spells from among them with the total cost. Both those spells have to cost less than 4 into the check zone. You shuffle the rest into your deck. Then you play them without paying their cost, right? Which is pretty cool. The easiest way to enable this is to play a bunch of spells that cost 2.
Yeah, but if you have too many spells in your deck, you're going to have trouble filling your field.
You're right. That's the core problem. And in order to, the math, guys, for this, in order to hit this consistently, even though it's the top 10 of your cards, which is a lot, without any deck filtering or deck, maneuvering, where you put stuff on the top of your deck or whatever, it is that you need to run 12 spells to hit this consistently, which is a ton.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. So I don't know if it's super great here, but it is interesting that if you like spell slinging, this is your first chance to do so in Wixoss. So you might enjoy this type of gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, there's some fun spells out there. There's also spells that help you get more cards into your hand.
Yep.
So
generally speaking, the spells that you're going to do are the ones that vanish things, or the ones that draw you more cards.
Like
and
Good Dig or Miracle Draw.
Mm-hmm, and the ones that make your opponents discard a card, or the ones that give you free enter. Those are what you're probably going to work with.
Mm.
So
quite the dilemma.
Yeah. So after that, you've got Midoriko. Yep, did it. Which is also an interesting card, but it just sort of misses the bar to be wow, one of those This, like Mel, for example, as a center, has a ton of utility. This doesn't so much. It has the enter ability, it's a green Elrig, has the enter ability of you put up to 3 cards from your hand into the enter zone. It's way worse than just straight up enter charging, because now you're discarding cards to enter charge. Not as good. But 3 is a lot, so if you are playing a deck, you're gonna want to add card draw into this type of effect, so that way you can
maximize it.
Maximize your enter here. Your action once per turn is target Signy on the field gets plus 5,000 power till end of turn.
That's pretty good.
It is pretty good. Team Pump is not the greatest thing that you want from your center. There's no extreme Team Pump payoff stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a fine choice. The real draw to this card is it's once per game, which costs green, colorless. So 4 total, which is expensive. And says you put all the cards in your enter zone to your trash. The opponent chooses a card from their enter zone and puts into the trash for each card that you've done with this effect. So basically, think of it as green, colorless X, right? That X is what you're going to enter burn the opponent for. And then the outside of that, you put all Signy on the opponent's field into their trash. That if you do 4 enter, right? If you say you don't have any other cards in your enter zone, you'll be able to wipe the opponent's board, right? And not only that, it'll go into the trash, which is a very powerful effect. So that is probably the draw to this type of deck.
It does feel... Sorry to interrupt. It does feel like a better Ott once a game.
Yep.
If you guys are familiar with the Ott version 2, her once a game was very similar to this, except it was more contingent on the Signy type, which is a lot to manage, and this is a little bit more simple to manage. That said, it's expensive.
It's asking for a lot of stuff. It's asking for you to play...
That's a lot of green.
It's asking for you to play a lot of draw cards. It's asking for you to play a lot of green. It's asking for you to play a lot of enter charge. And it's asking you to be an aggressive deck because it wants the enter burn to matter. So it's a lot to ask for. It does all of those things pretty okay, though. So if you're in for a deck that's like this kind of thing, just like the Spell Slingers, it's not the greatest, but if that's your play type, then this is a really good center. Burning through these, we've got Orochi, Phantom Dragon Diva. It's a level 3 red that says at the beginning of your attack phase, if there are 4 or more cards in your opponent's enter zones, then you can choose a card and enter burn it. Then whenever it attacks, if there's 2 or more cards in the opponent's enter zone, then you can take a card from their enter zone and put it into the trash. The reason why this is an honorable mention is it burns 2, but it burns one of those at inconvenient timing, and it also has to attack to do it, which means theoretically it's vanishing the thing that it's attacking into, and thus giving them back the enter that you're also, taking away from them. So it's not a great card, I think, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Siren is an interesting one here, too. Siren's a level 3 white card that says that if it's awakened, it gets plus 1,000 power, making it a 13k, and says when this Signy leaves the field, you can pay white. If you do, return Signy on the opponent's field to their hand, which makes it a little vanish-proof, but also a pretty good combo with specifically Akino. Akino Center lets you trash a white Signy that you control and bounce something on the opponent's field on your main phase. So you combo it with this, you can bounce 2 things.
Oh, that's spicy.
Yeah, it's a cool one. And then at the beginning of your attack phase, in order to awaken it, if you have 4 or more cards in your hand, then it's awakened. White doesn't really struggle to have cards in hand, so...
Yeah, but that said, we are up against a very heavy discard meta.
True.
So it's something to keep in mind, which is why it's kind of on our, it might be good list.
Yep.
Depends on how you play it.
The next one is Tanabata, which you have beef with the art, from what I hear.
I'm not going to talk about that.
It is a very off-putting, weird Signy. I guess it's supposed to be the tree that you tie wishes to, right?
Yeah, I think that's what that... You know what? It looks very similar to the thing in Animal Crossing, and that's about the extent of my knowledge, which is really embarrassing now that I've said it out loud, so please feel free to educate me in the comment section down below.
It's got a very complicated card.
Yeah, this is a lot of
basically,
text.
When it comes into play, right, you... when at the beginning of your attack phase, you put the top 2 cards of your deck into this, under the Signy. If you were to trash it, those cards will then go to the enter zone. And then if you're paying costs during your attack things, you can pay for those costs with the cards that are under it. It's basically a very, very weird way to say enter charge 2. It's a lot of text, and it mostly says enter charge 2. And when you're going to use it, it's going to basically say enter charge 2.
So this card comes with its own enter zone?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I guess it stops it from being enter burned. It protects some of that. It's a strange card. I really think, generally speaking, it's doing a lot, and a lot of it isn't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And it more or less is just going to give you 2 enter. So if you're in the market for 2 enter, okay, here's a card that does 2 enter. Sometimes you get level 3s that only enter charge 1. Next to it, though, is another card that I think you'll see somewhat often, but is less powerful than another level 3 we're going to be talking about on this list in a second. Musica. Musica's ability is that during an attack phase, the Signy in front of the Signy gets negative 2,000 power. Now, to be clear here, it says during an attack phase.
So that's yours and your opponent's?
Correct. So it's shrinking down the Signy in front of it by 2,000 during both attack phases, which can make for cool math.
But only during the attack phase.
Correct. You can combo it with some other things in order to make some vanishing happen. There's also some ways that you can combo it where, like, for example, there's ways to move Signy on the opponent's field, like change their lanes and swap them up on the opponent's attack turn, which might help you in this scenario too. So there's some interesting combo potential there. The main reason why you'd use this is constant ability that says during an attack phase, if the Signy in front of this would be vanished, put it into the trash instead of the enter zone. The reason why this is pretty cool
Good enter denial.
is it's enter denial when you attack with it, so it helps you win long games with that. But unlike where we've seen this mostly, which is white, right? There's also vanish effects on your opponent's turn from your assist Elrigs, but those are in black, so Musica kind of pairs nicely with that, because if you vanish something that's in front of Musica, it goes to the trash during both attack phases. So there's some combo potential there.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying now.
And then to also help out that this is going to help you win a long game, especially in control mirrors. You have whenever the Signy attacks, you can add up to 2 Signy without guard from your trash and add it to your deck. If you do, shuffle your deck.
Yeah, that means you get to search the whole deck. Your deck, not your trash.
No, you shuffle your trash. You're getting 2 from the trash.
Shuffle your deck.
No, it says you may add up to 2.
From your trash to your deck. Oh, you're adding
putting
it
it
back
into
to
the
your deck.
You got it. Got there. But that helps with the.
I thought there was another card that let you search your deck. Have we not gotten there yet?
Not in this set, but
Okay.
we do have, for example, go to the top does that.
Spoiler.
Oh
yeah, go to the top does do that.
But so this lets you just take Signy, useful Signy, so like maybe your level 3s that are lane openers, whatever, you're facing a control deck mirror. You shuffle them back into your deck. You're going to get them again next turn or whatever. You're going to keep looping it. Also makes it so that your deck is more resistant to mill, which is pretty nice in a mirror control, these control mirrors. So that's an option here as well. Where it really stands out is actually in Umir, because in Umir you can have something get vanished during the attack phase that's in front of Musica with like the Hastalic, and you can move it to a different lane and then still attack and trash something.
That's true.
So you can do double trash.
We love that.
Yeah. Following along here.
I got a spell.
The next one is a spell. It's called Call Out. I think it's okay. I don't think it's amazing. It's a 0 enter cost, and says when you use a spell, you may pay exceed to 7, which is like the entirety of what's under it. You have to be a level 2, level 2, level 3, and then get rid of all of it, right? Target Signy on your opponent's field loses its ability till end of turn, but if you exceed 7, instead you draw a card and all Signy loses their abilities till end of turn. That's non-targeted.
All Signy's on your opponent's field.
Correct. So it's not targeted. That means Exia will lose its ability and not trigger, for example. So this is a pretty cool one to do that kind of thing. Plus, I like cantrips. It draws you a card. At worst, that's not bad. Drawing a card at worst with a spell is genuinely an okay thing. It's also free.
Yeah, it's a free draw card, basically.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you were to draw a card, make Exia lose its ability, and not trigger Exia, and then vanish Exia with an effect, that's pretty cool combo.
Because this does not say target anywhere on the card, so...
And then the last of our cards that we're going to go over that are actually there's one more after this. One of the last ones is Saito. Azure General Queen. Azure General.
Just a general.
Just a general. Hasn't ranked up to Queen yet. It's a level 1 3000 with this constant ability, which is as long as there's a frozen Signy on your opponent's field, this Signy gets 4000 power. which is, for what intents and purposes, it's just a 7,000 attacker, 3,000 defender. If you want to imagine that. The more important part is its auto ability of whenever it vanishes a frozen signia on your opponent's field through battle, you get to draw a card. So freezing is pretty passive in Wixoss, and thus not super great. It's okay if you use it.
We're sorry for those people out there that won't let go of freeze. You know who you are.
It's a pretty
this
passive...
This might be a card for you.
Yeah, it's a pretty passive playstyle. I think the best freeze payoff card, period, is Royal Blue. What does Royal Blue say? It taxes the opponent, and if they can't pay the tax, it vanishes the Signy. So it's not passive.
Gotta pay the tax, man.
This also is a not passive Signy. This is a very good attacker that draws you a card. At level 1, that's actually pretty good. But you need to know that it's not a passive card. But that's the reason I like it. I think it's one of the few freeze tools that I actually think have evolved a little bit in this game.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that it can't freeze a Signy itself.
Yeah.
It's going to be dependent on other factors to get frozen Signies on the field to get the full effect out of it. But yeah, I mean, if you've got this in your deck, you have other cards that will freeze.
Neon Tetra, been doing it since set 0.
I mean, you could literally put Neon Tetra and Saito out together.
Same turn.
Like for your first turn, that'd be so rude.
Yep. So the last one is Mel Memorial. She's got mushrooms.
She's so cute.
She's a level 1 green with 3,000 power. Has an enter ability. Target Signia on your opponent's field gets plus 3,000 power till end of turn. It's action ability. You can actually play it from the enter zone, which is kind of cool. It's one of the first ones we've seen from this. So you can put this card from the enter zone to the trash. Target Signia on your opponent's field gets plus 3,000 power.
So this is a Signia with a built-in spell, basically.
Yep. Which I like.
I also like that.
It's one of those things where if it's you're facing down a Machina and you want to pump something out of a Machina range, boom, you do it. You attack through with the Machina thing. Okay, it gets to your trap. You enter charge it the next turn. It's now in your enter. They haven't grown the Machina because they still want to block something out. You open a lane. You put Mel down. You use Mel's effect. Get that thing over Machina again. Get your second attack in. I think it's pretty good utility in green. Green's lacking great utility, so we'll take whatever we can get.
Yeah. I'll take whatever I can get by green.
And really, it's a 2-for-1. You always are looking for cards that are 2-for-1s. You can use this twice, and that's great.
All right. Shall we move on to the creme de la creme, in our opinion?
Yeah. The first one is going to be Remember Dinner. You got a reminder that dinner's happening.
Remember Dinner, Miko of Feasting.
Yes. So...
How is that not Mel? Just flavor-wise.
I don't know.
Like, literally flavor-wise.
Get in the comments. Tell me what why she's all about snacks. Her whole thing is different breakfast and lunch. Why is that?
I don't know. Honestly, same girl. I love breakfast.
So, Remember is just like the Signy that she has, the Memoria Signy. Probably broken in the same way that... Signy is in a different way.
I think we can predict a big wave of Remembers.
Yes, I think we're going to see quite a bit of Remembers. I know Tama was the big bad. It's probably going to be Remember for about a year now.
Those dang white Lurig centers.
Yeah. Remember is going to be making us go, we wish we had those Tama days back.
Alright, let's read it out. Auto, whenever this Lurig attacks, down target Signy on your opponent's field and freeze it. Interesting.
It does the down and the freeze. That's the cool thing. It does both.
As an auto. Action, once a turn, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add a card from among them to your hand, and put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Okay, so it does a little dicking. You can do that once a turn. And then as its once a game ability, your opponent's center Lurig and all Signy on your opponent's field lose their abilities until the end of your opponent's next end phase.
So they lose it for your turn, and then they lose it for their turn.
It's a really good way to turn off some once-a-game abilities.
Absolutely is. And not only that, it turns off Exia, non-targeting. It turns off any other awkward Signy that you might have, things, Coellas, a bunch of other things that may be resistant to do it. Stuff that has souls get turned off.
This should be called Remember Vanilla Ice Cream.
Yeah,
you're just freezing and vanillaing a bunch of stuff.
That's a good one. I'm going to use that one from now on.
Yes, the Remember Vanilla Ice Cream card. We know that one. Miko of Feasting, please.
Yeah, this is like there's wins all across the board. There's not a here's the thing: is the down and freeze thing could be removed off the card, and it still would be fantastic.
Yeah, it would still be fine.
The fact that let's take it one by one. The fact that down and freezes something is good. If you're a control deck, you don't necessarily want freeze shenanigans, but you don't mind enter starving them or putting them in a situation where they have to say, well, I want to keep this remember on the field, but I can't attack next turn, I guess, you know? Like, it's a good way to not deal with answers, right? Because it's not dealing with an answer, but delaying that answer. And you theoretically could delay something till the end of time. Like, all right, can't deal with that H2O? Freeze it. It's now ice. It's now ice, and then every turn following...
It's a real nice H2O you got there.
Every turn following, guess what? It's still just a frozen down to H2O that's not doing anything on the field.
No, it's just ice.
If you got
it's
a problem...
It's not H2O anymore.
Look, remember
I
is
guess it is
all about ignoring her problems.
Me too.
It's really, really good utility in that fact. So much so that you might see an increase of Exia to pop it up, because Exia ups things at the end of turn. Although I guess this still downs it at the end. So never mind. I said Exia doesn't fix this problem. You just got a problem.
Its name is Remember.
Then it's once per game. It makes it sucks getting discarded out. What does discarding out stop you from doing? Filling out 3 lanes at a time. How many cards do you draw per turn?
Guarding.
Yeah, how many cards do you draw per turn? 2, which means that there's 1 empty lane. Wait a second, Remember gets you another card. Never mind, you have all 3 lanes covered.
Oh, you're talking about her action
once per turn?
Okay, yeah.
And it's the best of the 3 cards that you've got. You know? You filter through, find yourself a card.
Nice little free built-in better handle.
Yeah, what, you needed to vanish the lane so you can open up and attack for the win? Cool, there it is. Down on the top 3. Or at least helped you dig until you play more dig cards, right?
That's true.
And then it's once per game. Shuts down the entire field, right?
Yeah. It just is like, yeah, that's cool. You've got a 13k that does absolutely nothing. I mean, look, it's... Vanillaing stuff out does not stop the Signies from being in the lanes.
No.
It can take away a lot of abilities. It might take off some, like, plus 5,000s, plus 3,000s here and there, which can make a difference.
Yes.
But just, like, keep in mind that, like, it's not going to solve all your problems, but it will make them a lot easier to deal with.
One of the major ways to open a lane per turn is negative 3,000, right? Like, through various black cards that do negative 3,000 for free, right? Well, the bane of those existence are things that are 3,000 power, but plus 4,000 on your opponent's turn or something like that. Plus 4,000 if there's 10 cards in trash. You play this, those drop to 3,000. You've got lane openers again, you know? It turns off all punishing effects too. It's just...
That's true.
Remember reeks of utility. You're just like... And not only that, control decks really like having silver bullets. Silver bullets means that you can play... This means instead of playing 4 Exias, you can drop down to 3, maybe 2, and you can still find it when you need it.
Yeah.
This card is going to be very big in the meta, not just for control decks, but for mid-range decks too that will want to play this.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest getting used to it.
Yeah, get used to it. Moving on, we've got Urth. We've got some Urth assists. We've got Urth Scare, Urth Afflict, and Urth Aura.
Yes. So
I'm trying to say it right. I know you could just say Urth, but like, you know.
I'm just gonna say Urth here. Because I'm me.
Some of us want to try.
Look, you know, I love level 1s that have 2 effects built in. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I do. That's the bar of a good level 1. Can it do 2 things? Cool, it's probably good.
I feel like you've been spoiled by a lot of good level 1s, but sure.
Urth Scare does 2 things. It vanishes a Signy, opens a lane. We all know that's good. Machina level 1 does it, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is that you can put the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck into their trash. You mill them for
some nice milling early on in the game.
Spoilers, in Wixoss, there's a lot of ways to mill 10. But the magic number to mill is 14 to 15 to get a refresh in your opponent.
Well, this will get you the
most of the way
edge.
there. Yeah. So that's a thing that I think you're going to see. a lot of aggro decks weren't necessarily using a kind of refresh tactic at this point in time to refresh their opponent's deck, but they just didn't because they didn't have the crucial mass. Urth gives them to that, so now they can run a piece that mills 10. They can run Urth Scare that mills 4, and they probably will mill out most decks. Now, let's say you didn't want to run a piece that mills 10, right? And you're like, well, I still want the mill power, but I don't want to waste my piece slot on something that mills 10. Well, then that's when you can add Urth Afflict into the scenario. Urth Afflict is a level 2, got attack phase timing. It's got an enter ability that says the target signing on the opponent's field gets negative 10,000 power for each
1,000.
No, 1,000 power for each card in your trash, which, trust me, will add up to enough by the point that you're doing it that you're going to get something with it. And then you can pay an extra enter, and then you can take... Each player puts the top 4 cards of their deck and puts it into their trash.
So that's 8 right there, just across the 2 assists.
Not to mention, it also feeds your own trash, so that's an extra 4,000 if you needed it.
And because they're both enter abilities, you can choose which order you're going to do that in.
That's true.
So you could choose to do the enter pay 1 colorless to put 4 cards in your trash first, and then target the signing in your opponent's field.
Yeah, if you need to. If you just play these and you don't even play the mill stuff with it, then that's 8, like you said, right? And 8 is probably not enough to mill out most decks, but it will mill out control decks.
Because they're going to draw cards.
Bingo. So
they're milling themselves out, actually.
At that point, if you're struggling with your aggro deck, you're struggling with control, this is a pretty good one to flip onto. I've said this before in a podcast, but I actually think Nanashi, the assist Elrig, is not as good as a lot. It's really, really popular. But what I found in the GP was it's really, really popular, and it actively made decks worse. So is
that your hot take of the
That
day?
is my hot take. I don't think Nanashi is actually that good. And I think you guys might want to... if you're playing Nanashi, this is something you might consider swapping out and seeing how it works. You might actually find better results from it with this way.
All right, yeah, something to play around with. Now, what about Urth Aura?
That's a weird one. You want to take a read of it?
All right, it's a assist Lurig level 2. Grow cost is 0 with only main phase timing. Enter, target Lurig on your field gains auto once a turn. When this Lurig attacks, put up to 2 Signy on your field into their owner's trash, then add target card without a life burst from your trash to your life cloth for each Signy put into the trash this way until end of turn.
It's a lot of text. It's a lot of wacky ruling. A lot of weird English.
But if you pair that with Tama, you could potentially grow 4 life cloth.
No, because Tama in Vanilla's itself.
Oh yeah, that's right. Never mind. Don't listen to me. I don't know how to read.
No. They do it.
So let's see. When this Lurig attacks, put up to 2 target Signy on your field into their owner's trash.
Yeah, and they also put a little... Again, this game's really good at making sure crazy combos like that don't happen. Notice it said once per turn, so it only triggers once per turn as well. They double-checked it, being like, for most of those attacky things, Vanillas themselves, one of them doesn't. It's Endless Punchline, by the way. Endless Punchline allows you...
That's how that card's built, though.
I know, Endless Punchline allows you to attack multiple times and doesn't vanilla out your Elrig. Urth checks that and goes like, no, only once per turn. Anyways, it's a lot of text. What it basically says is trash 2 Signy on your field, put two cards in your life cloth.
From your trash. Without life burst.
So the next two life cloth you will have when you do this ability will not have a life burst. You will just get enter from it. Correct. So basically, right, what you should look at this as is when you do this, you're going to have 2 holes on your field. The opponent's going to be able to attack twice, and those 2 life cloths you gained are going to go away. So you might be asking, well, what's the point of this then? I just gave my opponent 2 free lanes to attack down, right? Valid concern. But in a scenario where, if you're in a meta where your opponent is opening 2 to 3 lanes per turn, maybe it's an aggro meta anyways, well, then your lanes were going to get open no matter what you were going to do. You might as well get some enter and make you not actively lose life because of it,
yeah,
right?
That's true.
Because you gain some HP and then lose some HP.
You can also use this as like a really roundabout way to like fix your enter zone.
Yep.
Like if you've got costs and you're just like, wow, I really need this color in my enter zone, you can grab it out of your trash.
And the reason why this isn't in the list where we said where it's highly situational, because this is highly situational. To be clear here, Urth Aura is only good in a meta that is dominated by mid-range and aggro. Terrible in a control meta. This is not what you want to be playing in our current meta, right? The only reason why this isn't in that list where it's like of cards that are pretty good is because Urth is incredible in that meta. Like, really good in that meta.
But we have to wait for that meta to come back around.
Yeah, if that meta comes back around, which it could in the Desona future, this is an option. Right now, not an option. But keep it on your mind if you're going to be playing the game that long, you know?
All right, moving on, we've got some white Signies. We've got Artemis, Blessed Angel. I love the art on this.
I do too.
I love the art.
To miss.
Miss.
The art doesn't miss.
Anyways, this level 1 Signy has 3,000 power and says constant. During your opponent's turn, this Signy cannot be vanished by the effects of your opponent's Lyrig and Signy that are level 2 or less.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have shadow, it just says that it can't be vanished by Lyrig and Signy that are level 2 or less. That's why it doesn't say has shadow.
Right.
You can still do other stuff to this card.
It's going to block your usual suspects, Lancelot, Ramel, those types of vanish effects. But it's also going to block some other vanish effects. For example, the Urth we just talked about, as well as Machina will be blocked by this type of effect because it's also the Elrig, right? Mm-hmm. And those main phase Elrigs that are going to be trying to vanish things on the opponent's side of the field will block those as well.
Yeah, but it can still be balanced. It can still get negative effects.
Yep, and it can still die through battle.
It can still die through battle.
This is not a card that's going to stick around on the field too long. It's going to stick around just long enough to be annoying against certain archetypes. And we've got a suite of those already. Takayuki is one of them. Zhao Yuns are another one. Stop sign, as you call it. I think it's driver's ed.
It is called driver's ed, but I didn't have the translation at the time, so I just called it stop sign.
These are ones that you can't put in every single deck, and you can't put in any games that you play in terms of just random games. But if you know what your meta looks like, adds to those 4 cards, where if you carefully put them into your deck, you could brick wall entire decks with this stuff. So, pretty cool there.
Pretty cool. We also have a level 2 Signy called Kokuri-san, Phantom Spirit. I hope I said that right. It's level 2, it's got 8,000 power, and it says, action, put this Signy on your field into its owner's trash. Target white Signy on your field gains auto. When this Signy is vanished, put it from your enter zone onto your field downed until the end of your opponent's next end phase.
Yes.
And it has a life burst.
That's true.
The life burst is draw a card. The Signy in your hand. Draw a card. The Signy in your hand gain a guard this turn.
Yes. So you can guard.
Signy with a guard gain guard.
No.
Signy with a G gain guard.
so
the Signy in your hand?
All Signy
in your hand. Got it.
Gain guard.
I was like, well, which one is it?
Sometimes this game does not English friendly. It's basically draw a card, everything in your hand gains guard.
No, all the Signy in your hand gain guard.
Yeah, but this game is mostly dominated by playing Signy.
I mean, unless you're playing Malulun, you might have 12.
Everything but Malulun. Because you're gonna play.
To be specific about it.
I can't wait to play my target white Signy in my blue spells.
It doesn't have to be blue spells. There just are a lot of. And also, some of the card draw anyways, whatever. Those are white, by the way. Good dig and Miracle Draw.
You're right. Miracle Draw is a great one.
This is why you don't listen to me when you come to deck building advice. I don't know. I would build a deck like that and be like, this is great. Don't do it or
don't
do.
Don't
I don't know.
sell yourself short. You're perfectly good at this type of thing.
All right. So why are we saying that this is super great?
I mean, okay, so Exia is pretty cool, right? remembers.
Exia is pretty cool.
Remember's pretty cool.
Remember's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of these level 3 white Signy that are like pretty annoying on the opponent's side of the field, right? What's the one that you were talking about earlier today? It's the one that you sacrifice it in order for it to become a guard as well.
Hestia.
Mm-hmm. Right? So imagine giving any of those level 3 Signy this ability where if the opponent gets rid of them, they just come back.
That would be so annoying for Hestia.
Yeah.
Because Hestia is just like a guard on the field, basically.
Yeah, basically. So this card is pretty good. It's also a level 2 with Life Burst, which is how I prefer my level 2s to be.
Yeah, it's nice and chunky at 8,000.
Right, so it's going to wall up against aggro pretty well. And the whole idea is, if you need it to be that, it's a level 2 with a pretty good... Life Burst is okay, it's not amazing. But its really best case scenario is that you can then target something that's really annoying on the field, and then you're going to be able to just like...
You have to vanish this twice.
Yeah, you have to vanish this twice if you're going to get it, which most decks can't do nowadays. Plus, like, if it's like an Exia, alright, vanish my Exia twice, watch what happens, you're not attacking ever this turn.
Vanish twice and find out.
So this card's pretty good on that side of the field. And also, it does have an edge being that it is a white Signy, which means that you can grab it with Super Celestia Saber, right? And you can then use it as one of those end game tricks that you want with your toolboxing.
Very good. Alright, so now we've got, moving right along, we've got Mel Memorial Galactic Queen. I love the art on this too. This is just spectacular.
Super good art.
Like this like cut out thing going on. I really like the use of negative space in this. I think is really nice. So this is a level 3 Signy. It's 12,000 power. Auto at the beginning of your attack phase. Banish target Signy in your opponent's field with a level less than or equal to the number of cards underneath this Signy. Enter ability costs pay 1 colorless. Add target level 1 Signy without a guard from your trash to your hand. Action once a turn. Put up to 5 level 1 Signy from your hand under this Signy. Place them face up.
Cosmos got a Cosmos, apparently.
Cosmos. Here's the thing, though. If you have...
Does not work with the Cosmos.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it doesn't work with the Cosmo piece because the Cosmo piece only pertains to cards that are in the trash or your deck. Which, once they come out of those two places, they are what they are.
I suppose it does Cosmos still because if for an enter, you can basically take anything from your trash back to your hand, right? Because it says level 1. So the Cosmos deck can do that.
Yeah, I guess so.
We're not talking
you have
about
you have to put up to 5 level 1 Signy from your hand, so they have to be level 1.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's the truth.
We're not talking about this for Cosmos. This is a card probably fine in Cosmos. This is a card that's good in almost any deck.
Explain yourself.
The more I read Mayu, right? That's what we're pronouncing it. Mayu.
I would say Mew.
Mew. And the more I read Mew, the more I fell in love with the card as I was waiting for it to finally come out previously. I'm really sad that we only got 1 in 3 boxes. Just saying, I opened up a lot of secret rares that weren't this, and I was not happy. But you only really need 1 when you're playing Super Celestia Saber, so it's fine.
If it's in your trash.
Yeah, I can get it in my trash. Don't worry. So here's the thing, right? A lot of control decks that I've been playing end up having like 7 or 8 cards in my hand at the end of turn. I'm going to discard those cards anyways, right? So the fact that I can stash my level 1s that are now useless because I'm doing 3/3/1 fields, which means that like I need level 3s more than I need level 1s. The fact that I can stash them under Mew is great, right? Like instead of discarding them, I can use my hand as a source of fuel. Discard it to this, basically, and then vanish a level 1 on my opponent's side of the field no matter what. It's fantastic, especially because sometimes you have struggle with certain level 1s because they're above 3,000 power. This just vanishes them, period, which is great. More importantly, yeah, you could add 2 in there in order to make it vanish a level 2. You could add 3 in there to make it vanish a level 3. Depends on what your hand size is, what you're preferring to do, but that's also a fine method, because I guess it's technically free. If you have a lot of cards, like, for example, you're playing Remember, and it's getting you extra cards, then you can use that as a outlet, right? And then kind of use it to your advantage. But there's some secret strength that we're not talking about here. Being able to return level 1 back to your hand and your choice of the level 1 from the trash.
It does say without a guard.
You're suddenly toolboxing, right?
There are a lot of really good level 1 utilities.
Like you're like, how many scenarios have been like, oh, he's got 2 cards in hand. I've got one way to make him discard 1 with a random drink, but I can't discard that last one. That's the guard. I know it is. And you're like, oh, but there is a monument in my trash.
So you're saying you would pair this with like blue?
Yeah.
With like monument?
Well, your normal Esper stuff that we talk about, which to be clear here is white, blue.
That's not going anywhere anytime soon.
White, blue, black. Wub.
Wub.
But there's a lot of other level 1s that are great utility. Getting back a Yuki to vanilla something out is a great option. Getting back a level 1 wall that buffs itself is a great option. Getting back a level 1 that vanishes something on the field, maybe Ogana or a Ramel, also a good option, right? Like there's a ton of different things that getting back a level 1 and toolboxing with your level 1s, which generally speaking are your utility signy anyways. Pretty good.
Okay, I'll take it. All right, moving on to the next one, which I've been waiting for. It is time to talk about Andromeda Galactic Queen, which I pulled an SRP of last night in the box. Can you see?
I'll check.
So she's real pretty. Which like I was like, oh, look at this. And you were like, you should put that in a sleeve immediately. So she's in a sleeve and she's nice and safe. But let's talk about the Signy. She's a level 3 Signy with 12,000 power. Nice. Auto, there's a lot of text, so give me a second. Auto, at the beginning of your attack phase, choose one of the following for each level 1 Signy on your field because Cosmos gonna Cosmos.
Cosmos gonna Cosmos.
1, if there are 2 or more cards in your opponent's enter zone, your opponent chooses a card from their enter zone and puts it into their trash. Or 2, target level 1 Signy on your field gets plus 10,000 power until the end of your opponent's next end phase. It also has a life burst, which is banish target Signy on your opponent's field with power 10,000 or less.
There's nothing on that card I dislike.
I can't imagine. At the beginning of your attack phase, choose one of the for each level 1.
Right, so if you have a 3/1/1 field, you get to do both.
Okay.
But this is a good card. All right, so red rarely has given access. I should be clear here. Rarely has given access to non-red decks to enter burn at level 3. Most of the red enter burn that you got would say things like, if you have red cards on the field, or if a target red Signy gets targeted or something, it enter burns, right? This enter burns, or you gotta pay red to do it. This enter burns for no red cost. It just enter burns for having a level 1 on your field. Which generally speaking, one thing we've talked about often on this channel is how often you're fielding 3/3/1. So you're gonna be able to basically almost always choose one of these. Now, another scenario is you want to grow that level 1. Most level 1s are 3,000 power. Plus 10,000 puts it up to that magical number 13k, which is higher than 12.
That is how numbers work.
That is, in fact, how numbers work.
It makes it a really hard target to vanish for a lot of things.
Right. Not only can Machina have trouble vanishing it on the open lane, right? It also is now a wall to the next turn, and the next player is probably not going to be able to deal with the 13k easily. So if you have a field of 12k, 12k, 13k, you're looking pretty good there in terms of walling up. So the real spice of this card, and it's also got a fantastic life burst. Vanishing 10,000 or less.
Yeah.
Always good.
Yeah. It's very typical red style life burst.
Yeah. So what's really good about this card specifically is that if red was lacking, red is a terrible support color. You play red decks and you are a red deck, or you play decks and they don't have any red in them whatsoever. Because red doesn't play nice with other colors, generally speaking.
Yeah.
This is one of the first level 3s with a life burst, specifically, that you can put into a non-red deck and get good results out of. So this is why I'm saying why this card's great, is because this is one of the first really easy cards to splash into other decks, and that want to use red assists, but can also then be paid for this type of effect, right? For example, X is a really, really, really fantastic assist. It's Madoka, if you have enough red cards in your deck. It's Madoka Float, followed by a really cool level 2 that enter burns the opponent and also vanishes something on the field. The problem, and the reason why you don't see it played often, is because other than Lancelot, what cards are you putting into your deck to splash red in there? The answer is you're not.
That's true. I believe we've talked about this before, where like red just doesn't have a whole lot of great level 3s. This is one of them. We finally got one. And yeah, you're right. I actually didn't even think about the fact that like there really isn't a whole lot of like you must put this with red or whatever. Like you can splash this in a lot of places, and especially like, I mean, even like taxing decks might like something.
That's
like
true.
This.
If you're one of these white aggro decks and you want to splash a little enter burn in here, here's a pretty free way to do it.
Pretty nice. All right, moving right along, we've got Madoka and Falulu. So talking about Madoka, she's a level 1 Signy. She's so cute. Look at her.
She is cute.
I can't stand it.
The foil
all you
version is cute,
Madoka
too.
stands out there, I understand. Would you say the foil's good too?
Foil's a good one too.
The foil is a good one too. Madoka, Memorial Code Anti, a level 1 Signy with 3,000 power, auto 2 times.
Twice a turn.
2 times.
The rare
a turn.
twice a turn.
Whenever your opponent discards a card by your effect, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card or enter charge 1.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like this.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, that's why it's on our, like, this is pretty good kind of list. Whenever an opponent discards a card by your effect, yeah, there's a lot you can do with this, especially in like, taxing decks. The Esper decks, I'm sure, are going to like this a lot.
Blue decks
Aya.
discard. Blue decks discard.
Blue decks discard.
So, you're going to get this effect. Basically, do you want to filter, which is good? Who doesn't like filtering?
Sure.
Or do you want to enter charge 1? Enter charge is good too.
Bad. Yeah, I mean, for blue decks, most of the time your enter charging is going to go towards like growing your assists.
Correct.
More than like paying costs or whatever.
Ironically, probably growing Madoka and paying for Madoka Clap.
So there's no like Magic the Gathering legacy rules, right? Where like you can't run a Madoka Larig with the Madoka Signy.
Nope.
She can exist in 2 places at once.
Yep.
Okay. If you're
They
not
defy
familiar,
reality.
if you're not familiar with that, Magic the Gathering has like a legacy rule which says that you can't have like, what is it, like 2 types of the same
thing on the same field, because then they kill each other. That's gone.
It's
now
like a
from that game.
Yeah, I'm sure that was
because they were like that's not fun.
Dumb.
Yeah.
All right. Madoka also has a life burst. Whenever target Larig or Signy on your opponent's field attacks this turn, negate that attack unless your opponent discards 3 cards. Ouch.
Yeah, this is one of the rare times where they hit you with the Signy, and normally you get hit with Signy, you pull something up that says down target Signy, you're like, well, that was the only open lane, so I guess it doesn't matter, This is one of the rare times you go like, well, I'll target your Elrig now. So now you can't attack with your Elrig.
Alright. So for the last card we've got in the list, we've got a Prepara Idol.
I know.
They are everywhere in this set.
Okay, hold
Can
on
we
a
talk
second.
about it?
We can talk about it.
Okay.
Because I know someone's going to be like, well, where's the Prepara Idol deck stuff?
Here she is.
And the answer is
this one.
they're not good.
This one.
This one is good for a very dumb reason. But you'll notice they didn't even make it into the oh, these are cards to consider, because the deck itself is not great. It's fine. It's a fine deck. It's average. If you want to build it. But the problem is it just doesn't really have support, and it doesn't get support for a long time. So it's just going to stay average until it becomes below average and then go away. It's an okay deck if you want to build it. Basically, just take any amount that you opened in your boxes, shuffle them together, you have a deck. They all work up pretty okay together. But Falulu does something where it really didn't mean to do it, because as far as I'm concerned, Falulu doesn't even have a second ability. It definitely has a second ability on there. It doesn't. No, I will. I guarantee you, in my Wixoss career, I will never activate its second ability. But its first ability.
If you do, I'm going to replay this clip.
It's fine. I'm sure it will never.
I'm sure you won't. Like, usually when you say something, you kind of mean it.
Its first auto ability is at the beginning of your attack phase, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, your opponent discards a card. Now,
what does that sound like?
That sounds familiar. Probably sounds like Monoman.
Probably sounds like Monoman.
The issue...
But she's a level 2 with 8,000, so...
Right. So that's the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
The issue with... It's her sister, Bruno, is that Bruno has to attack.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be thinking, well, I don't have to discard a card for Bruno, and Bruno can draw me a card if I need it instead. You're right. Bruno's ability is better than this. The difference is it has to attack, which means that the opponent can get rid of it with their assist stuff and then not have to discard a card. That's possible. Or, and this is kind of a more common problem, at the GPs, one of the things that the high-level players were doing was putting 3,000 power Signy in front of that center lane and being like, go ahead and play that Bruno and attack with it. I'd like to get the enter. And it was a thing that was done. So, and if you're playing like Tomadex, for example, it means you had to attack with the Bruno. You know, you couldn't down it to do Thomas' effect.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things here that you would rather not necessarily attack with for this to do it. So, Malulun doesn't fall into those things. The other thing is, Bruno's a 5,000, which was super awkward when you played against the aggro decks. Because then you played the 5,000 because you wanted to strip a guard out of their hand, and then they killed it with their Lancelot, and then they beat your face in a bit.
Yeah.
Malulun is a little bit more resistant to that kind of stuff.
She is very fluffy. She's got a lot of ruffles, and thank you for 8,000 power.
I guess the other ability is once per turn, if you discard Papara Signy, you can freeze target Signy on your opponent's field.
So I guess if you had 2 of these
in
your hand, you could discard another Malulun.
The most...
Because Lord knows you're not playing another Brave Boy.
Right.
Signy.
The most that you're ever going to run in one of your decks is probably 2. I've been running 2 of these in one Bruno, at least to see how it works, right? Or I might be running 2 Bruno in one of these. I'm not sure with the numbers, but those are like the numbers. So there's a chance. There's a non-zero chance you discard it to its own effect and you freeze something. I don't think it's a high chance.
Don't know why you would.
But you could.
So hold on. I actually have a question about the Prepara idols in general.
Yes.
We have a lot of them. Did Wixoss like work with Prepara? Is this like a...
Yeah.
I'm really out of the loop when it comes to like VTubers or like popular idol groups, so please just educate me in the comment section down below. I'm genuinely curious.
From my understanding, the running gag that people say is Wixoss is like crossover cross or whatever they want to call it. Like it's like some kind of joke, I don't know. Crossover, like, or whatever. They do a lot of these like collaborations with random stuff. So it pops up anytime you see that thing on the side that's not like a team name pop up, right? So some kind of symbol. It's some kind of like collaboration they're doing.
Like they did with Sambaka.
Yeah. They collaborated.
They like kept. Well, I guess because Prepara's not like a team. It's not in like the team box. Okay, that's what was thrown.
It's got its own type line. That's it.
Special. We opened up a lot of foil of these, and the foils of these are really fun too.
It's true. They're all going to one of our locals who wants to play them.
We're donating all of them. But if you guys like the Prepara Idols set and you think that you can do something clever with it, let us know in the comment section down below. Did we miss a really fantastic card from Prismatic Diva? Please let us know in the comment section down below, because y'all know that we read all of your comments. We love taking on your suggestions and play testing your suggestions from the comment section. So please sound off, and on your way there, please subscribe so you never miss another Life Burst podcast. Talking about some cards, talking about some art, and as always, please flip your life bursts. They deserve it.
They've been wanting to be flipped for a while. They remember that one game where you didn't flip any.
We've been trying to contact you about your unflipped life bursts.
Bye everybody!